Part 4. Carl Jung, Man and His Symbols. This assumption was not in the least arbitrary. It was based upon the conclusion of eminent neurologists, for instance, Pierre Janet, that neurotic symptoms are replated to some conscious experience. They even appear to be split off areas of conscious mind, which at another time and under different conditions can be conscious. Before the beginning of the century, Freud and Joseph Breuer, Joseph spelled with a J, had recognized that neurotic symptoms, hysteria, certain types of pain, and abnormal behavior are in fact symbolically meaningful. They are one way in which the unconscious mind expresses itself, just as it may in dreams, and they are equally symbolic. A patient, for instance, who is confronted with an intolerable situation may develop a spasm whenever he tries to swallow. He, quote, can't swallow it. Quote, that's funny. I'm sorry, that's funny. Under similar conditions of psychological stress, another patient has an attack of asthma. He, quote, can't breathe the atmosphere at home, quote. A third suffers from a peculiar paralysis of the legs. He can't walk, i.e., quote, he can't go on anymore, end quote. A fourth who vomits when he eats, quote, cannot digest, end quote, some unpleasant fact. I could cite many examples of this kind, but such physical reactions are only one form in which problems that trouble us unconsciously may express themselves. They more often find expression in our dreams. Any psychologist who has listened to numbers of people describing their own dreams knows that dream symbols have much greater variety than the physical symptoms of neurosis. They often consist of elaborate and picturesque fantasies. But if the analyst who is confronted by the dream material uses Freud's original technique of free association, he finds that dreams can eventually be reduced to certain basic patterns. This technique played an important part in the development of psychoanalysis, for it enabled Freud to use dreams as the starting point from which the unconscious problem of the patient might be explored. Freud made the simple but penetrating observation that if a dreamer is encouraged to go on talking about his dream images and the thoughts that these prompt in his mind, he will give himself away and reveal the unconscious background of his ailments. In both what he says and what he deliberately omits saying, his ideas may seem irrational and irrelevant, but after a time it becomes relatively easy to see what it is that he is trying to avoid, what unpleasant thought or experience he is suppressing. No matter how he tries to camouflage it, everything he says points to the core of his predicament. A doctor says so many things from one seamy side of life that he is seldom far from the truth when he interprets the hints that his patient produces as signs of an uneasy conscience. What he eventually discovers, unfortunately, confirms his expectations. Thus far, nobody can say anything against Freud's theory of repression and his wish fulfillment as apparent causes of dream symbolism. Wish fulfillment. Freud attached particular importance to dreams as the point of departure for a process of quote, free association, end quote, But after a time, I began to feel that this was misleading and inadequate use of the rich fantasies that the unconscious produces in sleep. My doubts really began when a colleague told me of an experience he had during his course of a long train journey in Russia. Though he did not know the language and could not even decipher the Cyrillic script, he found himself musing over the strange letters in which the railway notices were written, and he fell into a reverie in which he imagined all sorts of meanings for them. One idea led to another, and in his relaxed mood, he found that this free association had stirred up many old memories. Among them, he was annoyed to find some long-buried disagreeable topics. Things he had wished to forget and had forgotten consciously. He had, in fact, arrived at which psychologists would call his complexes. That is, repressed. All right, and that's my time for today. Thank you. Let's see. Yeah, hopefully let me know if anything went wrong or if the audio's off or anything at all. Thank you for listening. Bye.